Welcome to NewsTrack YouTube channel. In today's video, we share the latest updates on celebrities who sadly passed away today. We remember their lives, achievements, and the impact they had on fans around the world. Our thoughts go out to their families and loved ones during this difficult time. Stay updated with real-time news on celebrity deaths and tributes from the entertainment industry. Joe Louis Walker. Joe Louis Walker dead at 75. Blues guitarist and singer Joe Louis Walker has died at the age of 75. Walker's family confirmed he had died in April 2025 of a cardiac-related illness, according to Rolling Stone. He passed away in the company of his wife Robin and two daughters, Lena and Bernice. Walker was hailed as a musician's musician by many of his peers, with Aretha Franklin affectionately calling him the bluesman. His work saw him inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame and honored with a string of other awards. His 2015 album, Everybody Wants a Piece, was nominated for a 2016 Grammy in the Best Contemporary Blues Album category, losing out to The Last Days of Oakland by serial Grammy winner Fantastic Negrito. Classic Rock's review of Everybody Wants a Piece hailed it as a record that has Walker's trademark electric blues meets gospel soul sound stamped right the way through it, like a particularly tooth-destroying stick of Blackpool rock. Born in San Francisco, California, Walker learned to play the guitar around the age of 8 and was a known name on the Bay Area scene by the time he was 16. He performed with greats including John Lee Hooker, Thelonious Monk, Steve Miller, Muddy Waters, Jimi Hendrix, Mike Bloomfield, Bonnie Raitt, Taj Mahal, and Mark Knopfler. Announcing the upcoming release of Everybody Wants a Piece in 2015, Walker said, "I'd like to be known for the credibility of a lifetime of being true to my music and the blues. Sometimes I feel I've learned more from my failures than from my success. But that's made me stronger and more adventurous, and helped me create my own style. I'd like to think that when someone puts on one of my records, they would know from the first notes." That's Joe Louis Walker. Jill Sobule. Jill Sobule dies at 66. Jill Sobule, the Jewish pop singer whose hit I Kissed a Girl topped charts in the 1990s, has died at 66. The cause of death was a fire at her home outside Minneapolis, her publicist announced late Thursday. Sobule had been due to perform in Colorado on Friday. Sobule, who grew up as the only Jewish student at her Catholic school in Denver, broke new ground when she released I Kissed a Girl in 1995. The song chronicled a same-sex flirtation between two women and arrived at a time when queer narratives were rare in pop culture. Sobule, who later came out as bisexual, said it was the kind of song she wished she had been able to hear when she was a teen. The same year, her song Supermodel, satirizing teen culture, found success after it was included in the hit movie Clueless. The movie, focused on a Jewish teenager in Beverly Hills, is getting a new life now with a TV series. Sobule grew up as what she told Lilith magazine was as a, quote, Denver Jew, third generation from the old country, saying that her family practiced a secular and perhaps sanitized version of Judaism. "We were to Judaism," she told the magazine in 2023, "what Olive Garden was to Italian restaurants." She also recalled that her first stage performance was as Miss Hanukkah and Queen Esther in a school production when she was in first grade. After her turn atop the pop charts, she would return to Jewish themes in a wide array of musical and stage projects. She was a repeat participant in the Downtown Seder, a musical Passover performance held annually in New York City. She performed in a review of Fiddler on the Roof songs at a Jewish music festival in New York in 2007, alongside the Klezmatics and Theodore Bickel. Celine Dion. Playing Celine Dion on stage is a lot of pressure. When Lauren Drew was offered the role of Celine Dion in Titanic in London's West End, she did not have to think twice. For the Port Talbot-born musical star, a lifelong fan of the quote, 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 of power ballads, it was a dream come true. Drew described the Olivier Award-winning show as a parody of the 1997 film Titanic, which stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. She said the role comes with a lot of pressure, as she must deliver Dion's powerhouse vocals on the hit My Heart Will Go On. Celine Dion's hair transformation is gorgeous. Celine Dion may not be the first star that comes to mind when we think of dramatic hair evolutions, but she's certainly had her fair share of quote dues over her legendary career. Fans who have followed the iconic French-Canadian singer since her start know well that she has changed her mane a lot, regularly showing us a new day has come via her locks. Many of Dion's styles have been confidence boosters, as the body-shaming hater clapback queen admitted she uses her outward appearance to reflect her inner strength. The things we put on ourselves, the cream and the hair color and the conditioner and the nails and the makeup, it's not just about, like, oh, I feel beautiful and sexy. Feeling beautiful makes you feel strong. And feeling strong makes you succeed, she told Refinery 29. Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson dies at 70. Larry Johnson, who made All-SEC third team in the 1976-77 season as a 6'2" guard on the Kentucky men's basketball program, has passed away at the age of 70. A native of Morganfield, K.Y. Johnson played 4 seasons for the Wildcats from 1973 to 77 under the late Joe B. Hall. Johnson attended Union County High School, where he was the first of 3 African Americans, eventually followed by Dwayne Casey and Fred Cowan, from the school to be recruited to play basketball at UK. Johnson was a key piece to Hall's teams in 1975-76 and 1976-77, averaging 11 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 4 assists in 34.8 minutes per game during those 2 seasons. While playing at Kentucky, Johnson helped lead the Wildcats to a runner-up finish in the 1975 NCAA tournament and an NIT championship the following year in 1976. UK won 2 SEC titles during his time in Lexington. On the hardwood, he was regarded as a fast player and terrific defender. UK basketballer Larry Johnson, 73-77, has passed away. He participated in a thriller in 1973 at State for Union County, a 55-54 win over Lex Lafayette. Larry also pictured that year in a win against Central, 59-58, in the LIT where he scored 20 points. After his college career, Johnson, who would have turned 71 years old on November 28th of this year, went on to play 1 season in the NBA with the Buffalo Braves, now the Los Angeles Clippers. He was selected with the 24th overall pick in the 1977 NBA draft, but spent most of his professional playing career overseas in Japan before going into a life in coaching. Jeffrey Hutchinson. Florida executes a man for the shotgun killings of his girlfriend and her 3 young children. An Army combat veteran, whose Gulf War experience triggered severe mental problems, was executed Thursday evening in Florida for the 1998 shotgun slayings of his girlfriend and her 3 young children. Jeffrey Hutchinson, 62, was pronounced dead at 8:15 p.m. following a lethal injection at Florida State Prison near Starkey. He was the 4th person executed this year in the state under death warrants signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, with a 5th execution set for May 15th. Hutchinson had no last statement but appeared to be mumbling to himself as the procedure started just before 8 p.m. His legs shook sporadically, and he seemed to have body spasms for several minutes and then was still. The process took a little more than 15 minutes. The execution was carried out soon after the U.S. Supreme Court rejected a final appeal without comment. Hutchinson had long claimed that he was innocent, and that 2 unknown assailants perpetrated the killings under a U.S. government conspiracy aimed at silencing his activism on claims, including Gulf War illnesses involving veterans. Hutchinson served 8 years in the Army, part of it as an elite ranger. Court records, however, showed that on the night of the killings in Crestview, Hutchinson argued with his girlfriend, 32-year-old Renee Flaherty, then packed his clothes and guns into a truck. Hutchinson went to a bar and drank some beer, telling staff there that Flaherty was angry with him before leaving abruptly. Jackson Geiss. Jackson Geiss died at 63. Jackson Butch Geiss, a comic book artist whose work on characters including DC's Superman and The Flash, Marvel's Captain America, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and countless others, made him into a mainstay for publishers and fans alike, passed on May 1, 2025, according to a statement after ongoing health issues, according to a statement from his family. Geiss's career spanned decades, with runs on everything from Marvel's Micronauts, his first professional work in the early 80s, which included a 4-issue X-Men and the Micronauts miniseries at the height of the X-Men success, to DC's Action Comics, during the '90s sales boom for the Superman franchise, and decades later, collaborations with Ed Brubaker on Captain America that included early appearances of the Winter Soldier. In an industry that sees any number of creators burn brightly and briefly, Geese's trajectory was something different. While he never had one singular breakout project, he was a journeyman whose presence was oddly reassuring, a mark of both quality and stability. That's not to say his work lacked excitement or wasn't flashy. Anyone familiar with his work from any period knew that he was able to construct a page with as much dynamism as anyone, especially as he moved into the later periods of his career. While there was an essential geistness to his work, a visual through-line to his line that was close to photorealism, while never weighed down by the actual laws of physics, he visibly moved through eras of influence that were clearly learning opportunities as he analyzed and learned from the greats. His earliest work owed much to Michael Golden. Ricky Davao. Ricky Davao dies at 63. Veteran Filipino actor and director Ricky Davao passed away after fighting a battle with cancer. He was 63. His children confirmed the news of his death via a joint post on social media on Friday. Ricky Davao death. Ricky was surrounded by his children when he took his last breath. The late veteran's daughter Ara Davao wrote on Instagram, "It is with great sadness that we announce the passing of our beloved father, Ricky Davao. He passed away peacefully, surrounded by his children and loved ones, after bravely facing complications related to cancer. For more than 4 decades, he dedicated his life to the craft of acting and directing. His remarkable body of work and award-winning performances have left a lasting legacy that will continue to inspire. Most of all, he was a loving father, brother, son, and friend. We are deeply grateful for your prayers, love, and kind messages during this difficult time. Details about his memorial service will be shared soon," she added. Reportedly, Davao suffered from a terminal illness since 2024. Davao is survived by his 3 kids, Arabella, Ricky May, and Kenneth. He was previously married to actress Jackie Lou Blanco, with whom he had his kids. In 2023, he introduced his non-showbiz girlfriend named Malka to the public. After being together for over a year, Ricky Davao's girlfriend Malka reacts to his death. Mourning the loss of Ricky, Malka posted a heartbreaking letter on Instagram. It read, "To my dearest Bubba, you were the bravest and strongest person I have ever known. From the very beginning, up to your last breath, I saw how fiercely you fought. The best decision I have ever made in my life was to be with you and never leave your side all throughout." Ruth Buzzi. Ruth Buzzi dies at 88. Ruth Buzzi, who rose to fame as the frumpy and bitter Gladys Ormsby on the groundbreaking sketch comedy series Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, and made over 200 television appearances during a 45-year career, died Thursday. She was 88. Buzzi died at her home in Texas, her agent Mike Eisenstadt said. She had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and was in hospice care. Shortly before her death, her husband Kent Perkins had posted a statement on Buzzi's Facebook page, thanking her many fans and telling them, "She wants you to know she probably had more fun doing those shows than you had watching them." Buzzi won a Golden Globe and was a 2-time Emmy nominee for the NBC show that ran from 1968 to 1973. She was the only regular to appear in all 6 seasons, including the pilot. Ruth Buzzi was a comedic genius, Nancy Sinatra posted on X. "Working alongside her on Laugh-In was the most fun I ever had working. I treasured her friendship and I am heartbroken to wake up to the news that she is gone. I love you, Ruthie." Singer Dina Martin posted, "Her laughter and warmth touched us all, leaving an everlasting void." Buzzi was first spotted by Laugh-In creator and producer George Schlatter, playing various characters on The Steve Allen Comedy Hour. Schlatter was holding auditions for Laugh-In when he received a picture in the mail of Buzzi in her Ormsby costume, sitting in a wire mesh trash barrel. The character was clad in drab brown with her bun covered by a hairnet knotted in the middle of her forehead. "I think I hired her because of my passion for Gladys Ormsby," he wrote in his 2023 memoir, Still Laughing a Life in Comedy. George H. Ryan. George H. Ryan dies at 91. Former Illinois Governor George Ryan, disgraced by a corruption scandal that landed him in prison yet heralded by some for clearing the state's death row, has died. He was 91. Kankakee County Coroner Robert Gessner, a family friend, said Ryan died Friday afternoon at his home in Kankakee, where he was receiving hospice care. Ryan started out a small-town pharmacist, but wound up running one of the country's largest states. Along the way, the tough-on-crime Republican experienced a conversion on the death penalty and won international praise by halting executions as governor and, eventually, emptying death row. He served only one term as governor, from 1999 to 2003, that ended amid accusations he used government offices to reward friends, win elections, and hide corruption that played a role in the fiery deaths of 6 children. Eventually, Ryan was convicted of corruption charges and sentenced to 6.5 years in federal prison. During his more than 5 years behind bars, Ryan worked as a carpenter and befriended fellow inmates, many of whom addressed him as, quote, governor. He was released in January 2013, weeks before his 79th birthday, looking thinner and more subdued. He'd been defiant heading to prison. The night before he went in, Ryan insisted he was innocent and would prove it. But when Ryan asked President George W. Bush to grant him clemency in 2008, he said he accepted the verdict against him and felt, quote, deep shame. "I apologize to the people of Illinois for my conduct," Ryan said at the time. Ryan was still serving his sentence when his wife, Laura Lynn, died in June 2011. He was briefly released to be at her deathbed, but wasn't allowed to attend her funeral. Kirk Meadows dies at 33. Kirk Meadows, a main cast member of MTV's reality series Floribama Shore, died Friday in Miami, Florida of complications due to liver failure. He was 33 years old. His death was confirmed by MTV in a statement to People. "We are deeply saddened to learn of the tragic passing of Kirk Meadows, a beloved member of the Floribama Shore family," a spokesperson for the network said. "Our hearts go out to his family, friends, and fans during this difficult time." Per a report by TMZ, Meadows had been hospitalized and put on a ventilator for the 2 weeks prior to his death. His family had stated that Meadows had been diagnosed with necrotizing pancreatitis, meaning part of the pancreas had died. The family had also started a GoFundMe campaign to help cover Meadows' medical treatment and funeral arrangements, saying that he has no medical insurance, so your donations will be greatly appreciated. Meadows was one of the 8 main cast members of Floribama Shore, starring alongside Jeremiah Buoni, Cody Butts, Courtney Gilson, Amy Hall, Nilsa Prowant, Candace Rice, and Gus Smirnios. Launched in 2017, the show was produced as a Florida Panhandle set successor to the network-defining hit Jersey Shore, which ran on the network from 2009 to 2012. Floribama Shore was filmed at Panama City Beach and St. Pete Beach for its first 3 seasons. The 4th season, produced during the COVID pandemic, split its production across several locations, including Montana, Arizona, and Georgia. The series was then canceled in 2022. Along with his time on Floribama Shore, Meadows competed alongside his co-stars Buoni, Hall, and Prowant on an episode of Fear Factor, facing off with, quote, Jersey Shore. Jim Dent dies at 85. Jim Dent grew up in the caddy yards of Augusta, Georgia, eventually working at the Masters and honing his game at the municipal course known as The Patch. He went on to become one of the PGA Tour's longest hitters and one of the top black golfers of his generation. Dent died on Friday at age 85, a week before his birthday, his grandson posted on Facebook. The PGA Tour said on its website that Dent suffered a stroke the day after Augusta National announced plans for Tiger Woods to design a PAR3 course at the Patch. "What I learned about playing golf has probably kept me all through life," Dent told the USGA for a story in 2012. "You had to be honest. You had to work at it. You just couldn't pick up today and not come back till next week. And if you broke a rule, you had to turn yourself in." Dent worked hard enough on his game that he entered a few United Golfers Association tournaments, a league devoted to black players, moved to California, and took lessons from former US Open champion Johnny Goodman. He finally earned his PGA Tour card through qualifying school in 1970, and while he never won on tour, he kept a full schedule of at least 22 tournaments for the next 16 years. His best result was in the 1972 Walt Disney World Open Invitational, when he trailed Jack Nicklaus by 2 shots going into the final round. Nicklaus shot 64 and won by 9. Dent won the Michelob Chattanooga Gold Cup Classic in 1983, a tournament players' series event for players who were not fully exempt. The tour had gone to the all-exempt tour that year instead of the majority of the field going through Monday qualifying. Dent never met any of the qualifying criteria to play in the Masters. Dara Birnbaum. Dara Birnbaum dies at 78. Dara Birnbaum, a pioneer of the feminist and video art movements who probed, mimicked, and remixed mass media, died today, May 2nd, at age 78. The news of her death was announced by Marion Goodman Gallery, which has represented the artist since 2001. As a young artist in the 1970s, even as television was being consummately ignored in film and art circles, Birnbaum grasped its potential as a dominant force in American culture. Over a half-century career, she spliced, resequenced, and repeated excerpts from sources as diverse as game show quizzes, sports programming, soap operas, and YouTube videos to explore and manipulate how information is disseminated, transformed, and assimilated. Birnbaum was born in New York City in 1946, where she lived and worked her entire life. She received her bachelor's degree in architecture from Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, a bachelor's in painting from the San Francisco Art Institute, and a certificate in video and electronic editing from the Video Study Center at the New School for Social Research. Early influences, including a chance encounter with works by Dennis Oppenheim and Vito Acconci from outside a gallery window, and friendships with peers like conceptual artist Dan Graham and writer Alan Sondheim, steered her toward her interest in feminist film and experimental media. Technology/Transformation, Wonder Woman, 1978-79, perhaps Birnbaum's best-known work, saw her appropriate footage of the eponymous superhero to interrogate depictions of gender in popular media, incorporating repetition of her metamorphosis from secretary to superhero to topple the idea of female identity as fixed and capture the emergence of a new woman. Peter Coade. Peter Coade dies at 82. A well-known meteorologist in Atlantic Canada has passed away at the age of 82. Peter Coade was born in Halifax, but his career, which began in the 60s, took him across Canada. He eventually returned home to Halifax in 1990 and began a 17-year tenure with ATV, now known as CTV Atlantic, and Atlantic Satellite Network, ASN, eventually working as the evening weatherman for Live at 5. He was among Canada's first TV meteorologists, a trailblazer in the tradition of his mentor, CBC's, Rube Hornstein, said former CTV Atlantic chief anchor Steve Murphy. Peter's son Graham Coade said his dad was dedicated, passionate, and loved weather. Spent his whole life telling people what to wear. Peter was awarded a Guinness World Record for the longest career as a weather forecaster. In June 2013, he marked 50 years as a meteorologist. Murphy worked with Peter for many years and said he has so many memories, but one that stands out is Hurricane Juan in 2003. Peter forecast the storm very early on and warned of its potential impact days ahead of time. While some were caught off guard when Juan roared ashore from the south, our viewers knew it was coming. Peter and I were on the air doing live coverage until the last of the power went out, said Murphy. He drove me home afterward and we narrowly escaped getting smacked by a falling light standard. Murphy said a few months later, Peter was among the first to accurately forecast the magnitude of the massive blizzard that's become known as, quote, white Juan. Peter knew the science of weather very well, but he also knew our region and the way systems act when they get here. Longtime CTV Atlantic anchor Bruce Frisco worked closely with Peter and has fond memories of him. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger reunites with special friends ahead of Climate Summit. Arnold Schwarzenegger has recently offered a peek into his reunion with old friends, including Twins co-star Danny DeVito and former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. On May 5th, the Terminator star took to Instagram and posted a photo of him, Danny and British politician, all beaming with smile as they stood arm in arm next to a swimming pool. Arnold and his friends all reunited before actor's 9th annual Climate Summit on eliminating pollution, which will be held in Vienna in June. In the caption, the True Lies actor said, "I love bringing old friends together. It was fantastic to see my dear friend Tony Blair and introduce him to my brother, at Danny DeVito," wrote the 77-year-old. Arnold added, "I can't wait to talk about terminating pollution together in Vienna at Schwarzenegger Climate Summit." Fans quickly took to the comments section to express their excitement at Arnold and Danny's reunion. One said, "These three together looks like the start of an Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode." Another remarked, "Great month, good team, that's right, very good." However, some followers didn't like the inclusion of Tony, as one user added, "Don't really care for Blair, just Arnie and DeVito are cool enough." So far, the post has garnered over 200,000 likes in just a few hours.